Hey guys, how are you doing? Welcome back to the Golang and React full stack video chat project application series. We are done with about 5 to 6 videos in this series, and we have done quite a fair bit of coding. And some of you are not able to follow along, in the sense you're not able to understand the code. That's completely okay, because this series is meant for really senior guys, people who already have access or exposure to WebRTC and WebSocket concepts. So if you're not able to understand much, that's not a problem. And what I'll try to do is I'll try to explain to you visually. So for the few of you who are not able to understand much with what's happening, this is my attempt to try to show you things visually so that you're able to understand clearly. This is like a quick direction check just to show you where we are headed and what we've been up to. And this particular video that we are shooting is going to be the first video in the series. So I'm just going to take this, and it's going to basically be like the video 0. And so we have video 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I think. This is going to be the video 0. And this has a fair bit of explanation of what we're doing. And I feel that even more explanation will be required. So what I'll be doing is I'll be creating a video 0.1, 0.2, and so on till 0.5. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these explanation videos will be termed from 0, 0.1. I just wanted to clarify that. So in case you haven't started this series right now, it's okay to watch starting from this video. And for the rest of you who have already watched those 5-6 videos and are having some issues, then you can watch this video and you'll get at least some clarity. Like I said, I'll be doing even more explanations on these kind of boards, and those videos will be termed like 0.1, 2, 3, and so on, so that you'll get more and more clarity. So we'll have a lot of videos on explanation of this code visually, a lot of videos on the actual code, and that will make this series one of the best series on YouTube, hopefully. Anyhow, so there are 3 main components with what we're doing in the series. One are the routes, because obviously all projects have routes. And for those routes, handling those routes, creating those routes, all of that, we'll be using the Fiber package, the Fiber library. And you'll mostly see that we'll have to create a lot of routes with rooms. So we'll have to create rooms, we'll have to visit those rooms, right? So with chat and with video chat, you have to have like a place, like a room where you basically go and you can, chat with other people, you can have video calls with other people. So the room needs to exist. So all of the operations with the rooms we'll have to do via these routes, which basically we'll be using Fiber for. Then we have WebSockets. WebSockets basically help us to chat, right? And we'll be using WebSocket/Fiber. This is a library. You can Google it out, and you can check out the documentation, because that will be very handy. So in case you don't know, you've not used Fiber really well or a lot in the past, you might want to check out the documentation. Even though I'll try and take you through a bit of the documentation, but you just might want to check it out, because without understanding this, it's going to be slightly difficult for you to understand the entire series. It's going to have, you're going to require a lot of context. Okay, and then the third thing we have are streams. So this is something that you'll see a lot in our project, streams. And these are going to be powered with the help of WebRTC, right? So we'll have streams getting powered by WebRTC, we'll have chat being powered by WebSocket/Fiber, and rooms, which will be basically a lot of routes, will be handled with the help of Fiber. Now, WebSockets, the relationship between them is not very straightforward. So rooms will have WebSockets, and also streams will require WebSockets, right, to basically stream the video between people. They will be requiring WebSockets, and like I said, rooms already will be requiring WebSockets for the chat. There will be 2 components to it, chat and viewer, and we'll talk about that in the future. You'll understand it's very, very self-explanatory. Then we have something called as Fiber. Obviously, the Fiber library, which we're going to use to create routes. In case you've not used Fiber, and you're from a Node.js background, it's very similar to Express, but it's in Golang, obviously, and it's very, very fast. So with Fiber, we get something called as a new function. So new with a capital N, and you get these 2 brackets, which is the new function for Fiber. It helps you create a new application. And you can also you also get access to config, so you can customize your configurations with Fiber. And in case you haven't checked out the Fiber documentation, go to Fiber and check out config, and you can create your app instance, but you can also configure it to serve HTML files. And this is what we have done. So if you've already seen the first or the second video in our series, you know that we used config to customize the config to serve specifically the HTML files. Okay, and if you've not seen the first video, don't worry. Basically, you need to know that we'll be using something called as config with Fiber to serve, to tell Fiber that, hey, I want to serve these HTML files and render these HTML files in the browser. And then we'll also be using two middlewares, Logger for logging and Course, why we'll use Course. So we'll be using these two middlewares as well. And just like you have the syntax for Express, where you create an app instance, you do the same with Fiber, and then you use app.use logger at app.use Course to use any middleware you can use with app.use. So it's very, very similar to Express. Now with Fiber, you create these routes, and those routes will eventually have their own handlers. So every route has a handler. So like let's say the / route will have a welcome handler, /room/create route will have a room create handler. Handlers are basically functions that will help you to handle them, right? So the kind of explanation I'm doing right now is very, very basic, and it's going to help anybody, try and pick up this kind of a project, hopefully. So room/create is going to be a route, and the handler corresponding to it will be room create. So room create function is something that we'll have to create. And the room create function basically creates a new URL for a new room. It just creates a new URL like this, room/new ID. So new ID is generated with the help of our ggUID package. So this is what our room create function does. Now there will be a room/UUID or room/ID route as well, which basically is responsible for getting the room or creating it if it doesn't exist. So when you hit this route, you will either get the room with that ID, particular ID. This is why we pass these IDs. Or if it doesn't exist, you create that room. Okay. And most importantly, it's going to render the room. And the way it gets or creates the room, if it doesn't exist, is by calling a specific function called the create or get room function. We'll call that specific function, and you are supposed to render that room. By rendering, you mean that you send information like the room link, which we just created here, room link, and WebSocket address and stream link, right? So these three things are required. So when you hit a room, in that room, you're supposed to chat or video call people. And for that, you need the WebSocket address and you need the streaming link. Both of them correspond to a room. And then you use the HTML layouts to render all this information, to basically render that room. Once you see that room, only then you're able to interact with it. To be able to interact with it, you need obviously WebSocket address and stream link and the room link, which you get with the room ID, right, which you created here. Okay. So the other thing that you get is the other route that you have is room/UUID and WebSocket. So every room has, you can access that, the WebSocket section of every room using the room's ID. So it calls the room WebSocket function, and it creates connection to all the peers in the room. So the way WebSockets work is that you have to create connections with the room, with the peers, and we'll be defining peers very soon. But for now, you need to know that peer is another person, basically. That's what a peer is. And you want to have connection between peers. That's what WebSocket does, and that's how you're able to broadcast or talk to everybody. Now, by broadcast, I mean that in a room, or many people can join in a room, right? In a room, many people can join, and they can have chats with each other, or they can have video calls with each other, and you can broadcast messages to this. So there's no one-to-one messages, there's only broadcast, and broadcast basically means sending messages to all the peers in that room. So to do that, this function, right, the create or get room function, it creates something called as a hub, a new hub. Hub is going to be a struct with us, and it's going to have clients broadcast, register, and unregister. In the code side of things, we have already done this. And now when you look at this diagram, everything is clear. And if you've not started, and if you've not looked at the code, and you look at this before starting the code, it'll be even clearer, right? So hub is going to have clients, and then you have broadcast, which I just told you about. Then you'll have register and unregistering of the peers. So registering basically means that it adds peers to the channel. Unregistering basically means that it removes the peers from the channel. So when you're hitting a room, when you hit that route, you want to register this peer onto that room. And if the user clicks the cross button or is away from the browser now, then you want to unregister that user from the socket connection, right? So this was my explanation till now of where we are headed and what all we have been up to. There will be obviously way deeper explanations, and you can explain. Appreciate the complexity of this project. There's a lot of things going on, and this is why if you already have access, already have exposure to WebRTC, WebSockets and Fiverr, you've already done a lot of work with this, then this project makes a lot more sense. But in case you don't have it and you look at this explanation now, hopefully it should start making things easier. So like I said, there'll be multiple videos of these kind of explanations. We'll go deeper and deeper. In the next 1 or 2 videos, I'm thinking of not writing code but explaining more to you, so that you have more context when we write code. This code is going to be complex. So, but I heavily recommend you read documentation for all these 3, and things will become much easier. So thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Do subscribe if you haven't already, by the way. You get awesome content like this. You're not going to get it on the on YouTube anywhere else, guys.